Should you buy a house now or should you wait until interest rates go down? That's a question that everyone is asking right now. You're asking it. I'm asking it for myself. Everyone who is in the market or wants to be in the market to buy a home is asking, is now a good time? Should I wait or should I jump in, and should I do it now? Thank you for clicking this video. You are watching Car Conversations with a Realtor. When I get inspired, I may just pull over and make a video so that I can educate you and inspire you on the home buying process. My goal is to create a channel where all of us can come together and learn, and so that I can help you become a homeowner within the next 12 months or less. Okay, so let's talk about this. Should you wait or should you purchase a home now, waiting on the interest rates to come down? Well, here is my honest opinion. Of course, this is just my opinion. I cannot tell you what to do or when to do it. And I don't think anybody is qualified to tell you when you should purchase a home. That is a personal decision, number one. So here is my perspective. Whether the interest rates are at 3% or if they're at 7%, the answer is the same. Are you ready? Are you ready to invest in becoming a homeowner? Do you have job stability? Is your credit there? Do you have some savings? Do you pay your bills on time? Meaning, will you pay this mortgage on time? Have you been mentally and emotionally preparing yourself for a commitment to purchase a home? It doesn't matter if you got in when the rates were 3%. You still have to make that mortgage payment. You still have home repairs. You still have obligations when the rate is 3%. Well, the same thing is true if it's 7%. So here's the thing. If you can't afford the payment at 7% interest rate, then you should buy a home now. Why? Because if the rates go down, then all you have to do is refinance. So let's say you get the mortgage today and your interest rate is at 7%. But then let's say 3 years from now, the rate is 4.5%. Well, you can always go back and refinance that mortgage 3 years from now to take advantage of that 4.5% interest rate. Here's what I tell my clients. You are not necessarily buying the amount of the home. So let's say the house is $350,000. You're not necessarily buying $350,000. What you're buying is that monthly payment. How much does $350,000 cost you? I really don't have the answer to that right now, but on the top of my head, let's say it's $2,500. So what you're actually buying is a $2,500 per month payment. Are you comfortable with spending $2,500 each month for a mortgage? That's what you have to ask yourself. The question is not, should I buy now or should I wait until the interest rates come down? Because waiting may actually cost you money. We don't know what the interest rates will be. You can't make a decision based on what will happen in the future. Only thing you can do is make a decision with the information that you have today. And today, you know what the interest rates are. Today, you can determine what a fixed monthly mortgage will cost you today. We can't predict what it's going to be in 2026 or 2027. And waiting may cost you. The prices of the homes may skyrocket. If the interest rates go down, then that means prices will go up because the demand will also increase. So the lower the rate, the higher the demand. And if the demand increases, we will have what we had in 2020 and 2021 during the pandemic when the rates were so low and the demand was so high, people were overpaying for these homes. So there's a lot to be said about not getting caught up in a buying frenzy and getting caught up in a seller's market and then getting caught up in bidding wars and overpaying. It was very, very hard for a lot of buyers to purchase a home. They were ready. They were pre-approved. They had their credit in line. Their debt to income ratio was great. They were great buyers, but the product, the homes, the inventory was so scarce that it made a lot of buyers have to sit on the sideline because they simply could not compete. They simply could not compete. That says a lot. They simply couldn't compete with some other buyers who may have had a large cash reserve. But I don't think, based on my research, based on me keeping up with the trends in the market, I don't think that our interest rates are going to go down much lower than maybe the mid to upper 5% range. And I think that they will hover between 5.5 and 6.5 for at least this upcoming year. So you have to settle in your mind that if you're ready, that's what matters the most. That's the most important question to ask. Not if you should wait until the interest rates come down, but the question that you should ask yourself, the question that I should ask myself, because I too am thinking of purchasing a home in 2025. So the question that we collectively have to ask ourselves is, are we ready for this purchase? Are we ready for the mortgage payment? No matter what that payment is for you, it could be $1,000. It could be $1,500. It could be $2,000, $2,500, $3,000. Whatever your threshold is, are you ready for that payment? And the good news is we still don't lose out if we buy right now, because if the rates do go down, then you do always have an opportunity to refinance and get that same lower rate. So you avoid a lot of competition. You possibly avoid the home prices rising on you while sitting on the sideline waiting for the interest rates to come down. You get to take advantage of buying the house now, getting a good deal on the home that you actually love right now. And then if the rates come down, then you still can take advantage of the lower interest rate. So there's really a win-win-win for getting into the market right now if you are ready. That's if you are ready. If you are not ready, then don't do it. Nobody is pushing you into jumping into the market in 2025 if you know that you are not adequately prepared. And I would say that statement, even if the rates were still at 2% and 3%, if you're not ready, then you shouldn't be buying a home. But if you're watching this video and you've been following me, then you are a mature adult and the chances are you're ready. So don't allow the fear of the interest rates being at 7% to scare you. If you can afford the payment, that is what you are buying. And keep in mind, all you have to do is apply. Once you apply for the mortgage loan, the bank is going to tell you how much you are qualified to purchase. Now, whatever that amount is, they will follow up by letting you know that this amount is going to cost X amount of dollars per month. Now, at that point, you, the buyer, you have a decision to make. You can look at that and say, okay, I'm good with paying $2,000 a month for my mortgage. That makes sense. I'm paying $1,500 in rent right now. I do have an additional $500 that I can apply to owning a home. So $2,000 is good for me. That's what you're buying. You're buying that monthly mortgage. You're not buying the interest rate. And if you're renting, look at this perspective. Right now, you're paying 100% interest rate because you don't own the place where you live right now. You're renting. So what's better, 7% or 100%? To me, I would still move towards purchasing a home if I were currently renting, even if the interest rates were 7%, because your rent is increasing incrementally also. Who knows what the rent has increased in terms of percentage since you've been living there? Nationwide, all rents have increased. Renting is expensive. Buying a home is expensive. We all are paying high dollar to reside in our dwellings. So you have to decide which one is going to now be better for you. And I want you to get off of the interest rate train or just because it's the new normal. It's not going to go back to 3%. So we can wipe that out of our heads. We can stop using that as an excuse as to why we're not going to get into the market and go ahead and purchase a home because we're waiting on the interest rates to go down and XYZ. That's not going to happen, friend. You have to decide that you want to play. And if you do want to play, then you need to fill out the loan application, figure out how much you can afford, figure out what the comfortable monthly mortgage amount is for you and your family, and then you need to make it happen. Just buy a home, because you can miss out. And here's another thing. You're already missing out if you continue to wait, because each month that you pay the landlord, you're giving money away. You're not building equity. You're not building wealth. So it's costing you regardless. You're paying premium interest as a renter. You're paying top dollar every month as a renter. So even if the rates are 7%, that's better than 100% of owning nothing. I would rather own a home and pay 7% to own it than to pay 100% and not get anything in return. And you know that your rent is going to continue to increase. So that's the same thing as an interest rate increasing. Now, yes, you don't have the 30-year commitment. Yes, you can move when you want to. Yes, you do have a loan officer. Excuse me, not a loan officer, but yes, you do have a maintenance person to come and take care of repairs. You don't have that if you become a homeowner. It's you. You are the maintenance man. You are the maintenance woman. You take care of that every month. But it's still so much better than renting and making someone else rich. So my answer is, you have to decide if you're prepared. If the time is right for you to buy, for you and your family to buy, then don't let 7% scare you. Because again, if the rates do go down, then you can always refinance. But the benefit is that you've already purchased a home that you love. You are not competing with those other buyers who are going to enter the market once those rates do go down. You won't be caught up in a bidding war. Right now, sellers are back to paying closing costs for buyers in most markets. So you have leverage now with the seller. They are helping with home warranty. So there are incentives that you can get right now because the competition is low. Sellers are wanting to sell, so they know in order to get their home sold, they too have to compromise, and they have to give the buyer something in order to get the home sold. So it's still a really good time to buy if you can afford comfortably, without losing your shirt, without diminishing your quality of life. If you can replace the rental payment for the mortgage payment, then you should buy a home today. You should buy a home in 2025. You should buy a home when you are ready. Don't listen to the media. Don't try to time the market. You cannot time the market. I can't time the market. I can't tell you that things are going to get better, that interest rates are going to get lower. We thought that they would be lower than they are right now, but here we are. We're still hovering in the 6% range. But I do think that that's a new normal. So get that in your mind. Don't miss out trying to wait until it's 4%. Look at how much rent you would have spent waiting a few years, if it even happens, that it comes down to 4% again. It may never get back to 4%, but look at all of the months of rent that you spent waiting with no return. At least if you buy a house now, you can get the return. And then get this, if you do buy a house at 7% and you get into whatever, you need to sell it. Real estate is made to be bought and sold. I have to remind my buyers all the time that yes, it's a 30-year commitment, but it does not mean that you have to pay off all 30 years. And you may not know that, and sometimes it seems like you should know it, but I don't want to assume that you do. Just because you get a mortgage and it's a 30-year mortgage or a 20-year mortgage or even a 15-year mortgage, you can sell that house the following year. Now, you may not make money, or you may only break even, or you may be even upside down. Excuse me. You may be upside down. However, you don't have to be the person to pay off 30 years. Okay? So just know that even though it's a commitment, you're not stuck for 30 years. Real estate is made to be bought and sold, bought and sold, bought and sold. And that should take some of the pressure, excuse me, y'all, that should take some of the pressure off of the decision as well. You are making a commitment, but you're committed to where you're living now. Some of you have been renting an apartment for 20 years. I've had buyers that have rented for 20 years. They've rented somebody else's house for 20 years. They've rented an apartment for 20 years. So you don't have a commitment issue, friend. That's not the issue. The interest rate is not the issue. You've got to take charge of your wealth and your building of equity for you and your children's children. So I think that's it. I think that's what I wanted to say, is that don't try to time the market. Do it when it's right for you. If you can afford it, then now is the time. 7%, 6%, those are just numbers. You are looking at the monthly payment. If you can afford that monthly payment, then now is the time. If you cannot afford the monthly payment, then now is not the time. You need to wait. Or you still can buy, but maybe you buy a smaller amount of home than you thought you could buy. And when things improve, then maybe you can trade up. That's what I mean about you can buy and sell. Most first-time buyers will only stay in a house 3 to 5 years, and then they're ready to move on. They're ready to trade up. So even if you purchase a home now at 7%, but you have to scale back on the quality or the type of home that you buy. Let's say you don't buy the $350,000 house right now. Let's say you have to buy a $200,000 house. Well, that's fine. Buy the $200,000 house, build wealth, build equity. If the rates drop and the rates go down, then you can buy the $350,000 house the next time, in the next 3 years or 5 years, or whenever you decide to make that move. So there's so many different ways where you're not stuck in the home that you purchased, but you've got to get out of that rental. You've got to get out of that apartment, regardless of what the interest rate is. Prepare yourself. Get your ducks in a row. Your credit is likely strong. You've been on your job long enough, so you have the stability, you have the income. Your debt to ratio income is likely low. You probably don't have maxed out credit cards at this age. So you're doing well. You're doing all the right things. Now it's time to get in the game and to become a homeowner in 2025. I believe in you. I know you can do it. And I would love for you to continue to stay on this channel. I would love for you to subscribe to the channel. If you feel like that I can speak to you and feed you and speak to your spirit to help you get there, to give the accountability that you need so that you do become a homeowner in the next 12 months or less, then subscribe to the channel.